In the Gospel of John chapter 4, Jesus, weary from his journey, sat by Jacob's well outside the town of Sychar in Samaria. A Samaritan woman came to draw water. Jesus looked at her and asked, "Give me a drink." His words surprised her. "How is it that you, though you are a Jew, are asking me for a drink, though I am a Samaritan woman?" In her question lay centuries of division, political, religious, and ethnic, that shaped Jewish and Samaritan hatred. After Solomon's death around 930 BCE, the United Kingdom of Israel split in two. 10 tribes in the north formed their own kingdom under Jeroboam, who feared that if his people continued worshiping in Jerusalem, they would abandon him. To secure his rule, Jeroboam built altars at Bethel and Dan, appointing priests outside the Levitical line, creating a rival worship system that defied God's commands. This political and religious break sowed seeds of bitterness. Over the next 2 centuries, northern kings led Israel deeper into idolatry, mixing Yahweh worship with Baal, Asherah, and other Canaanite deities. Prophets like Elijah, Hosea, Amos, and Micah rose to confront them. Elijah challenged Ahab and Jezebel on Mount Carmel, calling down fire from heaven to prove Yahweh alone is God. Hosea compared Israel's unfaithfulness to spiritual adultery. Yet Israel's leaders hardened their hearts. Their sins grew horrific. Some burned children as sacrifices to Molech. Others practiced ritual prostitution in Asherah's shrines. Finally, in 722 BCE, God's judgment arrived through the Assyrians. King Hoshea surrendered, and Assyria carried away Israel's elite into exile. Then, Assyria resettled people from 5 nations, Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, into Samaria, 2 Kings 17. These foreigners brought their gods, Ashima, Nergal, and others, and intermarried with the Israelites left behind. The result was a mixed people, worshipping Yahweh alongside foreign deities, the Samaritans. Meanwhile, in Judah, kings like Hezekiah and Josiah tried to restore pure worship in Jerusalem. Although Judah faced its own idolatry, it kept the Davidic line alive. Jerusalem's exile to Babylon in 586 BCE humbled Judah. But under Persian King Cyrus, a remnant returned to Jerusalem around 538 BCE and rebuilt the temple. This second temple, finished in 516 BCE, re-established Jerusalem as the center of Jewish worship. Yet not all Jews returned. Samaritans, descended from Israel's remnant and foreign settlers, remained in the land. When Zerubbabel and Jeshua began rebuilding the altar in Jerusalem, Ezra 3, the Samaritans offered to help, claiming to worship the same God. But the Jewish leaders refused, fearing compromise with pagan practices. The Samaritans were offended and tried to stop construction by sending false accusations to the Persian court, Ezra 4. This deepened the hostility. Jews saw Samaritans as tainted. Samaritans saw Jews as prideful separatists. Determined to assert their worship, Samaritan priests built a temple on Mount Gerizim, just north of Shechem. They sacrificed on Gerizim, insisted it was the mountain chosen by Moses, and worshipped following only the Torah. Meanwhile, Jews gathered in Jerusalem, offering sacrifices at the Second Temple and reading not only the Torah but also the prophets and writings, which shaped their expectation of a Davidic Messiah. Thus, 2 holy mountains stood opposed: Mount Zion in Jerusalem, central to Jewish faith, and Mount Gerizim in Samaria, sacred to the Samaritans. Each community accused the other of corrupting true worship. It was against this backdrop that Jesus met the Samaritan woman at Jacob's well. When she marveled at his request for a drink, Jesus offered her living water, saying, "Whoever drinks it will never thirst again." But first, he told her, "Go, call your husband." She replied, "I have no husband." Jesus revealed her life's painful truth. You have had 5 husbands, and the one you now have is not your husband. Some suggest these 5 husbands symbolize the 5 pagan nations Assyria settled in Samaria. But the woman's shocked response shows Jesus revealed her personal suffering, repeated marriages, widowhood, or abandonment, leaving her vulnerable and shamed in her community. Seeking to change the subject, she asked, "Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where one must worship. Which is right?" This question exposed the heart of the Samaritan-Jewish divide. Samaritans accepted only the first 5 books of Moses, rejecting the prophets and writings. They had no Psalms to teach praise, no Isaiah to foretell the Messiah, no Jeremiah or Ezekiel to promise a new covenant. Without these, they missed the fuller revelation of God's plan for Israel. Their worship, though sincere, was incomplete. Jesus answered her with a radical teaching. "Woman, believe me, an hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. The hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth." He redefined worship beyond geography or rituals. Spirit meant worship empowered by God's Spirit. Truth meant worship grounded in God's full revelation through Christ. No mountain, altar, or temple would limit access to God. True worship would come from hearts transformed by faith. The woman confessed, "I know that Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will declare all things to us." Despite their limited canon, Samaritans clung to a hope of a restorer, the Taib, a prophet like Moses promised in Deuteronomy 18. Jesus declared, "I who speak to you am he." This was his first explicit revelation of his messianic identity in John's Gospel, given not to Jewish elites, but to a marginalized Samaritan woman. Overwhelmed, she left her water jar and ran to the town telling everyone, "Come, see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" Many Samaritans came, heard Jesus, and believed. They told the woman, "We no longer believe just because of your words. We have heard for ourselves, and we know that this is indeed the Savior of the world." This moment foreshadowed what would happen after Jesus' resurrection. The gospel spreading beyond Jewish borders to Samaritans and Gentiles alike. Though centuries of hostility separated Jew and Samaritan, Jesus offered both the same living water, inviting all people to worship the Father in spirit and in truth. In Jesus, the divisions of nations, mountains, and traditions met their end, and a new, unified worship began.